few weeks ago, I did a video about the U.S. stock market. In that video, I highlighted that the U.S. stock market had just taken a hit. Not a small hit, but a significant hit. I also mentioned that the jobs report was one of the catalysts that caused the stock market to dip. I'm actually going to show you some clips from that video in this video. Today, the jobs revision report came out, and according to the federal government, we were told there were 2.9 million jobs created. Actually, it was overstated by 818,000 jobs. Welcome to the Mr. Wilson's Got a Headache podcast. I'm your host, Dennis the Menace. If this is an interesting subject to you and you want to be updated about things like this, subscribe to the channel, follow me, hit the like button, and let's talk in the comment section. Check this out.
So here's what the US government is saying. They're saying that they overestimated how many jobs that the US economy added over the past 12 months. They said that they were wrong by 818,000 jobs. So you're looking at the data. This is coming directly from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS. This just got released today on August 21st. So look at that revision. A downward revision of 818,000, as if that's a small mistake, oops. Okay, I'll explain why obviously this is bad news, but I want to say this first. So the jobs data from the government that gets released every month, right? And we get the jobs report, I give you my analysis, and if you noticed, every analysis that I give, I always tell you, especially about the jobs report, that this government data, the numbers are manipulated. It's just a question of how badly the government is fudging the numbers, right? So I know a lot of people are aware of that, and I know a lot of people agree. They'll agree explicitly in the comments, and thank you for having my back. But there are a lot of people that will say in the comments that, if you're saying that these government figures, they're official figures, if you're saying that they're manipulated, that's conspiracy theory. But I would contest and I would respond, okay, if that's your belief, what more evidence, what more proof do you need after looking at today's revision?
Let's first start by saying that it's extremely normal for there to be a revision on the jobs report. What stands out here is the fact that we haven't seen a revision like this in the last 15 years. Now, if you do the math on that, that's around 2009. People my age and people around my age know that during the year 2008, 2009, 2010, the U.S. economy wasn't good. There were a lot of temporary jobs you had to take, and you would work that temporary job for a while, and then the contract would end, and you would wait for another contract. But during that time, you didn't have any money. You would have to go see if you could jump on unemployment, but you couldn't because the companies would keep you around part-time hours, or they would sign you up as a contractor so they wouldn't have to give you insurance or pay unemployment. That's just the way it was during those times for millions of Americans, especially people around my age who were just a few years removed. And this is considered one of the precursors for a recession. Check this out.
70% of employees are bracing for layoffs, according to a MarketWatch survey. And so if you're part of that majority, we're breaking down how you should prepare for potential unemployments. To discuss, let's bring in Blair Duquesne, who is the Ritholtz Wealth Management Investment Advisor. Blair, great to have you here on the program with us. All right, not fun to talk about layoffs and unemployment, but all the more important for preparedness as well. What is step one for how people, if they do find themselves as no longer part of the labor force or temporarily out of the labor force, can do to ensure that there's a pathway back in and that on the financial side, they're managing their prospects and their finances correctly too?
Yes, and thank you for having me, Brad. I'm sorry we have to talk about such a downer topic, but it is good to be prepared in advance. Rules of thumb for financial planning are you want to have at least 3 to 6 months of your living expenses in a cash reserve. That's cash savings in the bank, not invested in markets, not locked up in CDs. You want to have that cash available. I know a lot of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, but the time to prepare is before the layoff happens, right? So ideally, the 3 to 6 months in a cash reserve would be the goal that we're looking to accomplish.
Certainly, and as we're taking a look at some of those tips on the screen here right now, a lot of people may be wondering, okay, what are some of the most vulnerable sectors right now that we're seeing in terms of the layoffs that have already come forward and those that are anticipated?
Yeah, so with an economic downturn, pretty much every sector of the economy is going to be impacted.
I want to focus a little bit more on that 30%. Since 2019, according to the United States government, our money has lost 20% of its value. I'm sure that most of you can understand where I'm coming from. So to say that that's only 20% increase, and the jobs report was revised to show a negative 30% representation of the actual jobs that were created in this calendar year, 30% is absolutely significant. Let's check out a clip of some of the things that I brought up in my stock market video. Usually a month after the job report, there's a revision that comes out. They've actually seen that the initial number that was reported was actually around 50,000 jobs less than what was told to you and I. Now, I'm not saying they're doing that on purpose, but most of us don't go back and check those revisions. So we have a false sense of what's actually happening day to day. To add to that, the Federal Reserve is planning to cut interest rates in September. They previously talked about 25 basis points. Some people are saying they need to do 50 basis points. In most times in history where the Federal Reserve has cut interest rates, the stock market falls. How far? That's yet to be realized. At present, Americans are still spending money. Now, money has slowed down slightly, according to McDonald's, was having trouble selling Big Macs, but we haven't seen a major drop off yet. In that video, I continue to give some examples of how I made decisions that have put me in a financial place where I'm not struggling as bad as most Americans are right now. Definitely go watch that whole video. I'll put a link of it in the comments so you can check out the whole video. Market corrections are a normal part of a healthy economy. It's during these times when most millionaires are made. The people who have money in the bank are in a position to buy up all of the assets that people lose as a result of losing their jobs. And then as the economy recovers, we're going to sell them back to you at a higher price than we bought them, with profit margins that you won't see again until there's another market correction. Let's say, for instance, you sell cars, and usually on a used car lot, you see profits anywhere from $1,000 to around $2,500 per car. If you're lucky, $2,500. But during this time, somebody came and bought a car that was overinflated, but when that car is repossessed, they sell it at auction, and then they continue to bill you, put on your credit, how much they weren't able to recoup from you missing your payments. Well, at auction, the dealers sit back and say, no, we're not paying that. And the price drops. You have a car that was worth $30,000, but then with your interest, you were actually going to pay $45,000, just throwing some rough numbers out there. And then you got a few upgrades, so it was a $50,000 car. $50,000 is what you're going to have to pay to call that car your car with no worries about anybody picking it up. But when you come to auction, the people in the auction only want to pay $15,000, maybe $20,000 for it. And you've only made a year and a half, 2 years worth of payments, and you were late. So let's say that you paid off $12,000 of that $50,000. That's $38,000. And then somebody gets to that auction for $18,000, and then they put it back on the lot for $25,000. This is going to be a great time in history once we get through what I believe is a market crash and recession. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Comment section is open. I want to know what you think about it. Do you think we're going to have a soft landing and we're not going to experience a recession? Am I overreacting? Let me know in the comment section. I'll try to respond to every comment that I can. And I'll see you in the next video.